Alright, this is my Jedi Fallen Order style for the ProffieOS4 library. So the style itself, for both the main blade and the crystal chamber and engine, they will work on OS 4.8. But some of the features that I'm going to demonstrate are for OS 5, which is currently in alpha testing. And I'll describe each. But the main blade and the crystal chamber style are designed to look like the game. So the main blade has a pulse, but it also has a flicker effect, similar to the game. And I've set up 9 colors. So the original demo, if you saw my original video, had the 8 main colors. I've added red as well. Currently I'm running KyberPhonics Survivor Font, which has the 9 colors in it. And there's actually a different sound font for each of the colors. So I've built the colors out with the effects from the game. And then if you use there's a couple different versions. This one is the KyberPhonics version. I do have the volume down on this saber on purpose, just so I can speak to the camera. But I'll hold this closer so you can hear. So each of the fonts for each of the colors has a different font. So the sound will change if you change your preset. So now, along with the flickering effect, I've actually added a automatic force effect onto all the blades. And what the force effect is it's based on the force slow, which is one of the powers you have in the game. So if you use your force effect, it's actually going to slow the blade down, and it's going to have just kind of just a flicker without that movement to it. And it's meant to kind of mimic as if you're using the force slow power, and time is slowing down. So I'm going to use my force effect here, and you'll see the blade will actually slow down. And that'll run for 30 seconds. So for 30 seconds, it's going to slow as if I was in the game using that force slow power. Now in the game, it's not 30 seconds until you get to the highest level, but just to keep the timings easy to recognize, this is set for 30 seconds. And then after 30 seconds of doing your force, it will return to the regular pulse and flicker. We'll let that finish out. And then also in the style code, there's going to be the crystal chamber engine code. That is set up to run the blade style when the blade is on. And now that wore off, so I've got my pulse and flicker again. And then when the blade is off, it's going to run kind of as if it was shorting. So it runs an erratic flicker. And that's the crystal chamber engine style that's going to be in the library. So now those styles will work on OS 4.8, so you can use them. All of them, and you can do everything with it. Now the force effect, the force slow, if you add a force effect, force boost enhancement, it's going to override the force slow. So if you want to use the force slow, just choose this style, it's built in, and then under the force boost on the enhancement screen, you would just choose none. If you add any of the other force boosts, they're going to overlay and you're not going to see it. But so now I've built out all the colors from the game, so there's 9 colors if you add red. And I've got the 9 fonts from KyberPhonics Survivor Font on here, and I've set up each color and each font in order. So there's 9 presets on here. Now I'm using a new feature from OS 5 called multi-phase. It was originally shown in a mod that I put together, but it's going to be coming to OS 5. And what multi-phase does is it lets you do a live preset change. So instead of doing color change, you're actually going to change the preset. So my second preset will be the second color with the second font, because the sound font changes with the color of the blade. And how you use multi-phase, if you have to define it in your config and use my prop file, is you'll hold your aux button, and actually it's easier for me to do aux with my thumb, so I'm going to rotate that. So I just have big fingers, and they made that aux button really tiny. So what you do while the blade is on, if you hold aux and twist, it's going to jump to the next preset. So instead of having to retract the blade, change presets, and then ignite, holding aux and twisting does a real-time preset change. And if you notice, the font changed. So I've got a different sound for the green blade. So this is the first one was blue, this is green. And it's meant to be like the workbench, where you can choose your crystal, and then when you ignite it, you get a different sound and a different effect on the blade and color. And because I have 9 set up, I can keep doing it and keep advancing through the colors just like if I was in the game. So I've got the purple blade, and again, different sound font. Orange blade, different sound font. Oops, hit that wrong. I skipped yellow. So you can go backwards. If you hold power and twist, it'll go back one. So I skipped the yellow, so that's the yellow blade. And again, different sound font. And then aux and twist will jump next to the Cyan, which you just saw. So that's the Cyan blade. That's going to be the Magenta. The Indigo. And then lastly is the red. So I've added the red because the KyberPhonics font actually has the red sound as well. So if you use the library and you use all 9 presets and you get the font that supports it and you add multi-phase, you can use this feature to mimic as if through the game, where you're going to be able to just on the fly change your preset. So typically ColorChange would just change the color of the blade, you can change the effects of the blade, but you're in the same font. Using multi-phase, it changes the font, the color, and the effects with each change. So now I'll go back to blue. And I'm back around to blue. And I only put the 9 presets on this saber. If you had, 15 presets or whatever, would go through all of them. That's, I purposely built this saber and I wanted these effects to be as close to the game as I could. So I only put the 9 on here with the 9 fonts and the 9 colors. So now, the multi-phase is an OS5 feature. Another OS5 feature that I'm sure everybody's seen by now is battle mode. So I have battle mode on here. I'm just going to demo it really quickly with the saber. There'll be a lot more explanation on battle mode. It is about to go into alpha testing. But basically, if you haven't seen battle mode, the idea for battle mode is it turns your saber to act almost as real as it can. So typically, lockup, your drag, your melt, those types of effects, you would hold a button and do some kind of action. In battle mode, it takes the button out of it, so it just reacts to the gesture of your blade. And I've already got it active, and there's a few ways to activate it, so and that'll be in the battle mode description. But if you swing on, so if I swing on, it automatically activates battle mode, so you don't even have to think about it. And the swing on is from the game as well, where he just kind of grabs it and quickly swings that blade. But so while in battle mode, if you clash and you pull away, it's going to do a clash effect. But if you clash and you hold against an object relatively still, it's going to stay in lockup mode. So I'm back up for the camera. So I've got my clash effect, and this is a localized clash with a dissipate. You can change the effects. So you get that clash effect. But now if I clash and I hold still, I get the lockup. And then when you pull away, it ends lockup. So in battle mode, everything is gesture controlled. So by pulling away from your what you impacted, it's going to end that lockup mode. So you can do your lockup. You can still struggle, move the blade, but that deliberate pull away action is what ends it. And the getting used to the gesture controls is a little bit of practice, but you'll pick it up pretty quickly. The other thing in battle mode is typically if you were pointing down and you clashed, you used to get drag. In battle mode, you can still block down low. So you can get your clash down low or your lockup down low. If you want to do drag, you're actually going to do a downward stab. And a downward stab is a linear movement towards the ground. And you can move. And then when you lift away from the floor is when it's going to deactivate drag. So again, no buttons. That's the whole thing of battle mode. It's all gesture controlled. And then the last one is melt. And that's stabbing an object either forward or up. And then when you pull away from the wall, it ends melt. So all lockup, drag, and melt are gesture controlled. And clash is also technically gesture controlled, but it always was. No buttons needed. And then another thing that I've got on here is I actually have the multi-blast, which is in 4.7. But multi-blast does work with battle mode. And what multi-blast is instead of having to keep hitting that aux button for blast, it's actually going to change your blast reaction to be gesture controlled as well. So activating multi-blast is holding and releasing aux, and you'll get a missed fire. So you get a missed shot, so you won't see the effect, but you'll hear it. So now I'm in multi-blast. And in multi-blast, every swing is going to be a blaster deflection. So instead of having to keep pressing that aux button, if you were surrounded by stormtroopers or enemies, you could quickly, each deflection is just a swing. And if you want to get out of multi-blast, either you can do a clash, and that ends multi-blast, or or you can just hit your blast button one time and end it, and then it gets back to normal swing. So while in multi-blast, every deliberate swing or deflection movement creates a blast effect, so you get the sound and the visual, and you get out of it by either clashing or by just pressing the aux button. And again, multi-blast is in 4.7 if you have the prop files that support it and you've activated it. The multi-phase is coming to OS 5, and battle mode is coming to OS 5. So some of this stuff, the styles are available now. They work in OS 4.8. You can pull the styles down, you can play around with them. You can mess with multi-blast. When the alpha testing starts on battle mode, if you want to play around with that, you can. And multi-phase will also be there, so you can play around with multi-phase. But I've got all this stuff added to the library. Like I said, the features for OS 5 are coming, but the styles that you need are there. I'm excited. I've got my Saber working as close to the game as I can. I'm sure there's a few tweaks we can make here or there. But definitely check it out and hope you enjoy. Oops.